Hello children, welcome to the commerce class. Today we are going to discuss about chapter 7 of your commerce book, that is principles and functions of management. Before discussing the principles and functions of management, let us have a quick look on the objectives of the chapter. First of all, principles, nature and need for principles. Then Taylor's 5 scientific principles of management, relevance of the principles of management in today's business scenario, Fayol's 14 principles of management, comparison of Taylor's and Fayol's principles, functions of management. Today we are going to discuss about Fayol's 14 principles of management. Almost you all have covered about all the 10 principles, and today we are going to discuss about the principle of discipline. So, what is discipline? We all follow discipline in our routine life. You people go in school, you are staying at home, but we are following discipline. You follow the rules and regulations as narrated by the school administration. It means you are working in discipline. And if you are at home, you are obeying the rules and regulations of your parents. It means again you are following discipline. So, what is discipline? Discipline means sincerity, obedience, respect of authority, and observance of rules and regulations of the enterprise. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Suppose you are standing on one side of the bridge and your goals are on the other side, and you have to cover that bridge with the help of discipline. There are certain key terms which you have to cover in the principle of discipline. First of all, diverse profiles. Every person has its own mode of behavior and they work according to it. And in that case, their profiles differ from one person to another. Then the next one is code of conduct, that is set of rules and regulations which an authority decide to be followed in a particular organization. Then double-edged tool. Discipline is double-edged tool. It is to be followed on both the part of parties, that is the management as well as the employees also. Going ahead, we have to talk about the types of discipline. First of all, it is positive discipline and other is negative discipline. If you are getting reward for a particular thing, then it is termed as positive discipline. And if you are getting punishment for a particular thing, then it is negative discipline. All your activities are encircled in an atmosphere of discipline, whether it is positive or negative. Every successful organization has to depend upon the common efforts of their workers by punishing them, by rewarding them, by charging them certain penalties, but they all do it very judicially. Judicially means that it doesn't mean they are harming their employees, it doesn't mean they are harsh towards their employees, but they are only getting their work done. Then, if we talk about discipline, we have to talk about a situation where it is not possible to maintain discipline, and there are certain factors in the organization which are responsible for creating indiscipline in the organization. First, it is environmental factor, then organizational factor, and then the individual factor. If we talk about the organizational factor, insulating organization from external factors of indiscipline is the key to achieve discipline. There are certain practices which result in indiscipline. For example, practices resulting in indiscipline, for example, first one, politics in the organizational climate. Second, ineffective leadership and supervision. Then, undesirable behavior of superiors and discriminatory practices. Then, if we talk about the individual factors that is affect people-oriented processes. Indiscipline in organization is a reflection of indiscipline in society. These two factors are somehow bound by the environmental factor. All the surroundings in which we live, the environment which affect us, affect organizational as well as individual factors also. Then, coming to the example, an agreement has been entered by the management and the labor union. Here, the management want its labor to get their work done without paying them additional wages because they are going in losses, and the labor decided to work for the organization without additional wages, but here the management has promised that they will pay extra money to the workers when the mission is completed. So where does discipline lies? Only when there will be fulfillment of their commitment. Then another example we can also take of advertisement agencies. We see advertisements, there are certain products which are promoted in the advertisements. So we are saying that discipline lies in advertisements also. How does discipline lies there? Fulfilling the commitment they are promising. If they are promising certain thing and they are committing it in time, that means the advertisement agencies are fulfilling the needs of the customers, and they are maintaining discipline in their job. So if we keep on concluding the principle of discipline, what we can say that discipline means that when you are following a certain set of rules and regulations, and such set of rules and regulations are followed in a uniform path, then it is said to be in discipline. Now all of you can add what is discipline, why is it followed, why is it necessary for smooth functioning of an organization, and you can refer to YouTube links for exploring more information. So now, after discussing the principle of discipline, our next principle is the principle of scalar chain, or the principle of line of command. When we discuss about the principle of scalar chain, our focus is on the main key word, that is the flow of communication. We all know communication is a crucial aspect of any organization, and the principle of scalar chain revolves around the flow of communication. Scalar chain means chain of superiors from highest to lowest level, or rank in a straight line. Every orders, instructions, messages, requests, explanation, and every information has to pass through scalar chain. Now you can see in the diagram that communication flows both upward and downward. Formal path is identified by scalar chain. If D has to communicate with G, he has to follow upward path of communication, that is D conveys its message to C, then to B, then to A, and A then flows it downward. From A it will flow downward, but the time when it reaches G, the message is not the same as conveyed by D. So this is the major drawback of this scalar chain. Now we have to cover certain key terms under this principle. The first key term is straight line. Scalar chain means following the rank of supervisors, flow of authority, or the flow of information in a straight line. Now the next is chain of supervisors, that is flow of communication from the highest rank to the lowest rank. Next is follow-up actions. Follow-up actions means taking the feedback or the response of the employees. And the last one, the very important one, is gangplank. Gangplank means shorter route, or you can say a bridge between the two, which is helpful in reducing the communication gap. We can see in the diagram that D has to convey a message to G, and he has to follow a very long formal path for conveying the message. While conveying the message is not the same as conveyed by D, and moreover it is taking more time. To convey such message, now gangplank has to be used. This is the shorter route or a bridge. So this is a medium which has been introduced to remove the shortcomings of scalar chain. We can see here that if a director has to convey a message to manager, then it flows to departmental heads, then to supervisors, then workers, and then foreman. And foreman can even convey the messages in upward direction. So this is the principle of scalar chain, that there is a need of flow of communication, flow of instructions and messages from both upward and downward, and in a formal path. In any organization, communication should be quick to prevent follow-up actions. Quick communication is possible by using gangplank or direct contact. For example, the CEO of a company is to reduce the number of employees in his company. This news is first conveyed to a manager, then to a supervisor, and then to the employee who will be fired. So this is the flow of scalar chain, or the flow of line of command. What advantage we can conclude out of this example? It allows the top management to communicate the message to the entire organization and supervisor at each level, and every member become responsible to execute that order. So what is scalar chain? Scalar chain is the flow of communication from one person to another, from highest to lowest rank. After discussing scalar chain, our next principle is the principle of equity. So what is equity? Now, after discussing about the principle of scalar chain, our next principle is the principle of equity. Equity is a combination of fairness, kindness, and justice. Fair to all, be kind, and there should be no discrimination while judging anyone. If equity is followed, then it results in proper devotion, loyalty, employees maximum efforts, and moreover it creates sense of belongingness among employees. So you can see a balancing mirror here. There are two employees who are measured on the same balancing rod. So there should be equity in the organization. For example, granting medical leave to an employee. Now, if we talk about a male or a female, medical leave, there are certain rules which are fixed. So, there should be equity in following the rules for granting leaves to employees. Now, see, there is another example. There is a survey in the company and question is asked, does your company give equal remuneration to all employees? It has been asked to 20 respondents. Out of these 20 respondents, 11 are in favor, 7 are against, and 2 says nothing. So, what can we conclude out of it? That company is not following the principle of equity because maximum are saying no. So, after discussing the principle of equity, our next concept is the concept of esprit de corps. Esprit is spirit, D means of, and corps is body. Spirit of body. It is based on two principles. One is unity of strength, another is unity of staff. Unity in strength and the unity of staff is the foundation of success in every organization. For example, there is a book publisher who has to get his English rhyme book published. So first of all, he asks for different definitions, the appealing posters, the lessons. He will prepare a mind map. He will ask the author, the poet, to give some quotes, appealing quotes to be published in it. Then actual poems are published and then he look for the resources from where he can add more to his book to get it in the hands of more customers. For example, if we talk about troops, they keep on group marching. There is a saying, united we stand, divided we fall. In unity there is strength. So to bring awareness to a current issue, troops keep on group marching. Now, if there is no unity in between them, how will they be able to defend the country? They are doing their duty for a particular aim to achieve. Another example is movie franchisee and TV series. Now there is a lot of people involved in promoting and developing a TV series. Right from the one who has the idea, one who give the franchisee, one who is getting a license, the cast, back technicians, many more. But there should be unity in staff so as the TV series can be a successful one. For more clarity of the concept, you should refer the following link that will help you to explore the topic. Now, related to this, you have to answer the questions as discussed. First, explain why is discipline essential for smooth functioning of an organization. Second, what is Gangplank? Explain the concept of esprit de corps and equity. Okay, we have covered so many things in this chapter. Now we are doing the principles of management. We have covered FW principles, their nature, their relevance, and we have to cover the functions of management. To cover the functions of management, you must read the concept from page 169 to 171, and we will be meeting again tomorrow to have more clarity of the concept. Thank you.